I'm Andrew Hamada. I'm co-founder and CEO of Reason Automation. Joining me today is James Horry, co-founder and CEO of Slideform. You probably have heard of one or both of us before if you've been on LinkedIn or in the Amazon space for a minute. Both James and I have run Amazon-related businesses for quite some time now. But this is the first time that we've sort of joined forces to help solve a very large, complex problem that we see almost all of our clients have and dealing with. And if you're here, hopefully this resonates with you. This quote that we've got up on the screen here. Nobody loves downloading and preparing their Amazon data. Nobody loves the manual repetitive tasks of them taking their analysis and putting it into a client report. And if you're joining us from an agency, nobody likes doing that 5 to 10 times every week. As part of their weekly workflow. I think most of us would prefer to be spending that time on finding insights and actually driving value and change for the businesses, whether it's our business or a client business. And that's what we're here to address today. So our topic is how to overcome some of the challenges of reporting Amazon data, or any data really. And I think that we'll give you a mental model and a framework for understanding why this is hard today and how you might be able to help align your stakeholders internally on the difficulty and maybe get resources. We'll talk a little bit about why James and I are working together on a solution and what we think the outcome can look like. And James is going to show you an example of how you can go from your Amazon data to an actual presentation in less than 10 minutes. We're super excited. So first, in plain English, the problem for the overwhelming majority of e-commerce businesses or agencies is that the Amazon team spends way more time gathering data and preparing it than they do on acting on it. And as I show folks this chart on the left here, most folks smile and nod because it resembles a lot of their workflow to some degree, whether that's you're gathering data from the APIs, if you happen to have API resources. Anything that you can't get from the APIs, you're downloading manually from Vendor or Seller Central. Then you have to clean everything up, prep the data, normalize it. If your team doesn't speak ASIN, you got to translate it into MPNs, et cetera. Load everything into a database, refresh all of your analytics and your dashboards, and then and only then is the data ready for analysis. Internally at Amazon, we spent all of Mondays doing all of this stuff in order to be able to do analysis and presentation on Tuesdays. But for most folks, it takes 4 to 8 hours of weekly work per Amazon account that they're managing. That doesn't necessarily add value to the business. It's just operational overhead. So why does this happen? As we think about this, number one, the problem is very complex, but it's much more complex than most leaders realize and requires more resources and deliberate resourcing than most leaders realize. I think most people think of reporting on their Amazon business as basically 3 steps. Get the data, do some analysis of the data, and then present the data to whoever needs to see it. But in reality, this masks a bunch of smaller steps that take time, take energy, and take resources, and end up contributing to that 4 to 8 hours of work every week. And so here's our view of what all the steps actually are. You can see those original 3, data collection, analysis, and presentation, are still here, but we've added in 4 others that we think happen in sequence every single time that you're doing any amount of reporting. So first of all, detection. Is anybody creating the data in the first place? You can't analyze data that doesn't exist. And this can become a barrier when your leaders expect you to measure things that Amazon doesn't provide data for or doesn't report on easily. Next is data collection. Is someone actually storing the data somewhere to make it available for analysis? Anybody who manages PPC has probably struggled with Amazon's 60-day rolling history window. If you're not storing that data ahead of time, far before you need it, the next time your leader asks, what did we do last year for Prime Day and how did our ads this year for Prime Day compare? You won't be able to answer the question. Transformation, actually getting the data ready for analysis. Anybody who's downloaded a file from Vendor or Seller Central knows that the data comes with some interesting headers and some extra information at the top of the file that makes it resistant to importing into a tool. Sometimes Amazon gives you data as text when it should be as numbers, et cetera. Once all the data is prepped, can you actually put it in front of your analysts or your sales team in order to start deep diving? What can we actually pull out of this week? Once you've got those results, you can share them with the right folks, but that's still not the last step. afterwards, you still need to take action on that data, whether that's you directly taking action or you putting that the results into the hands of the right stakeholders so that they can then make decisions and pass those decisions downstream. And a lot of times this is happening across 3 to 4 different teams, 3 to 4 different levels of leadership in your company. And so the alignment and the potential for misalignment is very, very great. So when we think about how to improve this situation for your company, every company is different, but thinking about each of these steps for your particular company, your particular business, where are the bottlenecks today? Where does your company do a good job of resourcing and honoring the amount of work that it takes to accomplish this task versus one that maybe they're not thinking about at all? And how is that contributing to that 4 to 8 hours of weekly work that we described earlier? And the reason we're talking to you today as Reason Automation and Slideform is that we think we have solutions for most of this. What we found is that a lot of folks need a lot of help in actually piping the data out of Amazon systems, getting it cleaned up, ready for analysis, but they've got tools that they already use and want to continue using to perform that analysis, whether that's something like Excel, just doing ad hoc spreadsheets, or you've got much more robust analytics tools like Tableau, Power BI, Looker Studio, et cetera. And then finally, once you perform that analysis, you need to then present the results, share the results with the right people, queue up decision making, and then document everything. And that's where James and Slideform come in. A lot of times, whether you're an account manager at an agency or a sales leader at a brand, you're spending a lot of time here, and then reports get shot off into a SharePoint, or you're spending a ton of time copying and pasting things into a PDF, et cetera. And now we have solutions that can help you automate away that pain. So first, I'm going to talk about the pipeline side and the data and how Reason Automation helps. So you're probably used to dealing with a lot of different data extraction sources. Amazon has many different places that you can acquire data, some of which are easier to use than others, whether that's the SP API or the Amazon Advertising API, the Brand Analytics API, or Vendor and Seller Central themselves, because some things aren't available from the API. Then you're probably spending a bunch of time doing transformation to normalize that data, cleaning it up, getting numbers into the right formats, et cetera, making sure that nothing from Amazon is changed. Like, did they add a column, or did they change the way that data gets stored in a column, or did they deprecate a report entirely? Next, you're getting the data into storage somewhere. And what Reason Automation is doing is taking care of all of this for you in one step. What our clients do is they connect to our service. We take care of all the daily extraction, transformation, and storage. And the benefits to our clients are that this removes all of the time that it takes to do this and a lot of the guesswork about and uncertainty about what changes Amazon has made, what errors Amazon might have introduced, and how to handle them. We also do a good job of capturing changes from Amazon, whether that's schema changes or actual changes to the data that you're seeing. Manual downloaders know that Amazon likes to change data over time. If you download a report from Amazon today and download that same report a week from now, the actual numbers may have changed because of things like rolling attribution changes or backfills. This means that we improve your data quality and improve the trustworthiness of your data, helping make it easier to validate it against Vendor and Seller Central. We're also helping you build that history so that the data is there when you need it. Because we've taken care of storing all your data for you, it's ready to connect to any of those tools that you want, whether that's Excel, Power BI, et cetera. And last but not least, instead of needing to deal with 4 to 5 different SKUs and vendors and optimizing data storage, API connectors, and all this other good stuff, you pay one vendor, one cost, so you understand exactly what it's going to cost you going forward. That makes a lot of leadership decisions and resourcing easier. And then we leave it to you to add value through whatever tools and whatever teams that need the data. We've created a single source of truth for you to automate all of the data prep for your Amazon reporting cycle. All right, I'm going to turn it over to James to talk a little bit about how Slideform helps.
Thanks, Andrew. I really appreciate that. And for all of those that I know and the participants, I know some of you, I don't know some of you as well. For those that I do know, hello. I deeply appreciate you attending this, and hopefully those that are watching the recording later on, hello to you guys as well. And so, yeah, Andrew has introduced me as the co-founder and CEO of Slideform, but I suspect that most of you know me through my prior company called ReviewBox. And ReviewBox, of course, is still around. It was acquired in summer of 2021 by a company called TalkWalker. If you guys want to reminisce about the good old review box days, you have my contact info. We can talk about that anytime you like. But it was really while I was at ReviewBox, interacting with good folks like yourself, I kind of ran into the following observation and problem that I think a lot of you have run into and that Andrew has alluded to, which is you spend a lot of time and effort going through the data process, right? Whether it's doing it manually initially, right? Going through Vendor Central, downloading this data. Perhaps if you were a ReviewBox client using our exports to look at the review data and the content data and so forth. And hopefully over time, you automated that step in which you place that data into some sort of structured data warehouse or database, or even Google Sheets and Excel, right? And Andrew kind of went over how their process and their software helps you automate that so that you cover a lot of time that you were needlessly spending just doing the data prep sort of piece. But one of the problems that I was interested in while at ReviewBox, and certainly after I left in the past few months, I had left ReviewBox and TalkWalker in summer of this year, and I knew that when I came out that I wanted to address a problem that was interesting and that really represented an opportunity from a time savings point of view, because efficiency is kind of the name of the game. And the problem that I landed on was really around presentations and reports, which is once you have the data, once you have the charts, and once you have the tables and all of that, at the end of the day, you still need to place this information in some sort of presentable format, either for internal use or for external use. And it's kind of like the old joke that at the end of the universe and the heat death of the universe in our solar system, there are two things that are going to still remain, and that's Excel and PowerPoint. There's just no way around it, right? And so I knew that that was going to be one of the problems that I wanted to take a look at. And so I created this little diagram here. Now, let's say it's the end of the month or end of the quarter, and you're beginning to prepare your communication for your client or for your internal stakeholder, perhaps as the VP of marketing or even your CEO. How do you actually go about doing that? And let's say that for the sake of simplicity, that you already use Reason Automation to place this data in some single place, right, in a uniform way. Well, the first thing that you're going to do is you need a presentation template, right? You need to place it somewhere. Even that lone step, by the way, is fraught with danger, because chances are what you're really going to do is look for the prior presentation that you sent over last month and make a copy of that and use that as a template. And of course, everybody's going to do that on their own. Who knows if there have been changes made across templates and so forth. So once you find your presentation template, then of course, what you need to do is then locate all the data that you need to actually populate this presentation. These could be charts, tables, images, screenshots, just numbers, who knows? It can be a variety of things. Sometimes you don't even know where to look. Hopefully Reason will help with this part. And then once you find it, you still actually have to do the work of screenshotting this, copy and pasting this into the correct slides, into the correct elements. And I don't know about you guys, but if I'm copy and pasting stuff for like an hour straight across 30, 40, 50 slides, there is a non-zero chance that I'm going to screw this up after my third or fourth presentation. And so if you work for an agency, look, you're human, we're all human. It is very easy to mess this part up. And, far be it from me to suggest that perhaps we need to do some QA on this piece to make sure that we actually send out a presentation that our clients actually can open and look at and is actually correct. And so then, of course, once we all do this and fix the formatting issues and have done that review, we finally send it to the client. And so I would estimate across the clients that I interacted with at ReviewBox and at TalkWalker that this easily represented 1 to 2 hours of simply unproductive time, right? Sometimes much larger than that. And without naming names, I know that there were many teams that frankly outsourced this entire process because it was so cumbersome. So you can take these 1 to 2 hours of unproductive time and multiply it by every week, every month, every single client. And pretty soon you're dealing with hours and hours and hours of wasted time and money. Next slide. Thank you. So here's the premise behind Slideform. What we want to do is to help you automate your presentations. And so Slideform is a SaaS solution, it's a web app that basically connects to your data sources, especially the data sources that Reason supports. So this may be a BI dashboard, it could be a sheet, an Excel file, or Power BI, or a data warehouse, you name it. So we want to connect to your data source, pull the data down automatically, and embed that data into your custom presentations. And I think it's actually that last part that's really important to emphasize, that at the end of the day, we're not trying to build a dashboard for you. What we're trying to do is incorporate your presentation with your branding, your design, your schematics, all of that. And we want to automate that piece. And so the end result is going to be a presentation that you would have created manually and sent off to a client. You want to produce the exact same thing with automation and with minimal time, right? And I think philosophically, one thing I would like to emphasize is that between Andrew and Slideform, one of the reasons why I think we wanted to team up with this is philosophically, my take on this is like, look, we've all used tools and web tools that basically capture the data and capture the metrics, and they place it in their own system. And look, that's what software does. That we kind of live in the world of SaaS, and that is often the case. Having said that, if we think about how we should operate, how we can operate, I would rather push that data and those metrics to where they belong, which is in your presentations, in your Excel files, in your database. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to play this game where we capture value by simply building this moat that you would rather not cross, right? I would rather you have everything in the way that you want it. And hopefully we can be a great partner in that. And so once you've done all of this, you get two things. One is you can create recurring presentations very, very quickly. So I click on a button, you get a new presentation, or you can create multiple slides all at once from this data. Next slide, please. Right. So basically, to reiterate, we start with the data. So all the icons that Andrew and Reason Automation pointed out as to where they end, whether it's Snowflake or Power BI or an Excel sheet, that's where we actually start. So once the data is in there, we can take that data, we incorporate your templates, whether it's a PowerPoint or a Google slide or even a PDF, we take that template and then give you these outputs. So a brand new presentation. And of course, we can try to automate that and even place that in a recurring schedule. And of course, what are the outcomes? Well, it depends what you're trying to do with these presentations, but typically some of these outcomes are things like business reviews, monthly, quarterly, or annual business reviews, regular weekly or monthly metric reports. But you can be creative. And now that you have access to all this data, all these metrics with these templates, you can even create personalized ROI sales decks or status updates that, whereas before it was perhaps cost prohibitive, both from a time and money point of view, now it's essentially free. You can do it immediately and conveniently. So just wanted to throw this out here because I think in this discussion about automation, right, we think about, oh man, there's all this technology out there, all this software out there that Reason has, that other SaaS providers have, that now Slideform is adding as well. And I think it's really easy to lose the human element and the human touch. Because one thing that I used to emphasize at ReviewBox is that people and teams don't subscribe to us just because they like the software. Yes, that's kind of table stakes. We do need to have really great technology and really great software. It needs to be easy to use and easy to understand. But teams really buy the entire service, right? And that service oftentimes and should have people behind that. And so when I talk about oh, why do these teams choose us? This is really a projection. This is really me telling you, this is how I want it to be. I want us to have really great technology, but at the end of the day, especially for those that have known me at ReviewBox and have interacted with me, I just like talking to customers and making sure that we can solve their problems, right? And this actually goes back to this larger philosophy that we've had, where it's not just the software and it's not just this automation, right? We want this solution to work for you in the way that you care about. It's in your system, it's in your database. The end output are your presentations. And when you need help and you need advice, or you just want to talk about this broader landscape, you know who to call. And you can reach out to those people, and we can kind of, basically just tie the entire box, right? And so for me, this is actually really, really important. Even though nominally we both run software companies and this is a new software venture, I do want to emphasize that at the end of the day, I think it's that human element that really makes us stand out. And frankly, it's going to be that human element that helps us succeed. It's going to be all of you guys. Right, so this is just a quick data sheet. I don't expect you to read over this, but I will say that at the end of the day, whether you're running reports for, against your Amazon data, monthly, quarterly reports, and so forth, we will be able to support it. We support a variety of underlying data sources. Some of this, admittingly right now, because Slideform is so new, it is somewhat aspirational. But we do have a lot of data connectors in place now, and we are beginning to work with quite a few customers on this process. So if you have any specific questions around what this looks like, just give us a call. I mean, we'll have our contact info at the end of this. And even if you just want to talk about how crazy the Amazon landscape is and how to deal with that data, I think between Andrew and myself, we have seen pretty much everything. Just FYI, you can always talk to us.
Yeah, there is a line on my business card that says Amazon therapist, because
Yeah.
that is a huge part of my job.
We are definitely therapists, or at least we can help each other vent, if not anything else.
Exactly. Real quick before we turn it back over to James to show us a quick demonstration, I want to bring us back to this mental model and talk again a little bit about why we think this is unique and why we think it enables you to do what you do best. So we mentioned that a lot of businesses undervalue or misestimate the amount of time and energy and effort that it takes to actually produce reporting every week. And yet, despite the need for all of this additional work, all of the value that you and your team are delivering is really in the visualization and the finding the actionable insight steps. And that's the piece that that we want to keep in your hands and not try to reinvent for you. We want to take away and automate all of the other tactical work in data preparation and presentation preparation that doesn't add value to your business. Being really good at data extraction as a brand is not a competitive differentiator. What you do with that data is. Same thing on the presentation side. As an agency, being able to put together really good decks is a cool skill, but it's not why the brands choose you. They choose you for business results. The decks are just an artifact of that. All right, James, you want to talk through a live example?
Yeah. All right. Let the fun begin. We'll see how well this goes. So give me one moment, please, and I will find the window that I am supposed to find. All right. So you should all be seeing a Chrome browser with some tabs. Great. And so, yeah, I'm going to just show you a really quick demo of Slideform. And so just FYI, Slideform is under active development. It's brand new software, but hopefully I've learned a few things along the way. And so this demo, cross my fingers, will actually work. And so I think the way that I like to structure this, I have a few demo projects up here, but I'm actually going to start on the data side, because this is where reason helps, right? It's like getting the data into the place that you need to. And just for fun, I also wanted to incorporate some exports that were generated from ReviewBox, because I think for all the ReviewBox customers, that this is like looking at content data, buy box data, and of course, ratings and reviews before Amazon kind of blew that up. We had a lot of data there as well. And so I wanted to incorporate some elements of that. And so, again, philosophically, just to emphasize, I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff. just keep in mind that most of the things that you see, you can replace with your own data. We don't own this data. It is your data. We don't own these templates. Hopefully these will be your templates, but we can help you bring all of this together. And so let's start with, let's start with a cool thing, the ratings and review report. If we have any ReviewBox customers here or former ReviewBox customers, you're probably going to be familiar with this particular review and rating report. This is just a Google Sheet that I've incorporated. You can download this directly from ReviewBox and has a few different charts. So hopefully you can see this little average rating chart from January to April. You guys see that? Great. And so we have some bar charts, another bar chart here, review frequency. We have some raw data underlying the actual reviews and so forth. If you guys use another ratings and review platform, or even if you use Bazaar Voice, this will seem somewhat familiar with you. We have some tabs again that has some underlying review data as well. I actually stripped out the actual raw data because I didn't want to necessarily overwhelm you with that. But let's say that we started with something like this. And we've all been in this place where we have this Excel sheet or this Google sheet, or you have some BI dashboard in which we have these visual elements and we need to incorporate it back into some presentation, right? Because chances are we can't just send this over to the client or just share this with their VP of marketing. They'd be like, oh, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I want to copy and paste this into a presentation. Now, in the past, what I would have done is probably have taken a screenshot of this, right? Hitting Command-Shift-4, I think, copy that, make sure the screenshot looks good. Try to find a presentation template. Here's one presentation template that I have here, and basically pasted it into the right element, perhaps in this pink box, right? Or in this pink box here. So obviously this is a presentation template. This is just a regular Google slide that I have. And you can see that there are some places that are meant to be filled out. I know that a lot of you guys already have templates, and you probably even have little placeholders where you remind yourself like, hey, I should copy and paste something here. I should change the client into the actual client name, the date, and so forth. This is where I want to put a table and highlight some KPIs. This is where I want to put some bullet points. This is where I want to put a chart, right? So I think we've all been there. And again, in the past, I would have just done this manually. But fortunately now, what I can do is I've created a few different projects that I've already set up. And now, if I wanted to create a brand new presentation, all I'm going to do once I have this set up is to hit the generate button. So I'll do that right now. Got to move this little window first. So once I hit the generate button, it's going to ask me a couple questions, like specifically, hey, what's the first bullet point I need to fill out? So I might just fill something out or leave it blank if I wanted to. I'll just say, great job. And for these next two, I'll just leave as blanks. And then that's it. So instead of copying and pasting, I just hit generate, answer one or two questions, optional questions or required questions, depending on what you want to do. And what the system is now doing on the back end is connecting this report here with this template here. And so I've already done the mapping. I've already defined what goes where, and I'll show you what that's about. But basically right now, the system is compiling a brand new presentation where all these little placeholders are being automatically filled out in the way that you've defined. And so instead of copying and pasting stuff, I can just hit a button and basically start generating the presentation. And typically this process can take 20 to 30 seconds. You can just hit go and just come back later. You should get an email notification when it's all done. And once it is done, just while it's generating, I'll point out that there are a couple different things that you can do. You can download the final output as a PowerPoint, a PDF, or even embed it as a Word document, or you can upload it as a Google slide. And so the final output is actually going to be something that you should be familiar with, which is the actual final presentation, right? And so you can take that Google slide and then you can edit that however you want it to. So the system is done, is saying, hey, you didn't fill out the second and third observation. That's fine. I skipped over that. So I'll ignore that. It's going to show me a quick little preview. So it's great. This is the reviews and ratings report. It has some information that I filled out. This is for a pretend brand called Yumi Bose. And you can see that there are some metrics here, some table, average rating, previous rating, great. You can see that great job. That was my little bullet point that I entered. It has some review frequency chart, another table, and the average rating. That looks good to me. So what I'm going to say is now upload this as a Google slide. I have a couple other reports in here. So for example, while it's uploading to a Google slide, I can take the exact same template and run a detailed vendor report. So this vendor report here is actually using the data directly from Reason Automation. And so one of the outputs that Reason Automation has is Snowflake. And Snowflake, for those that are unaware, is this really well-supported industry standard data warehouse. It's a cloud-based data warehouse. It's really cool. They can put data directly there. And so for the detailed vendor report, we're just pulling data directly from Snowflake, from a demo account, and generating a few charts and so forth. And so I want a detailed vendor report. I'm going to hit generate. Again, same deal here. I want to enter some bullet points. I'm just going to hit next, 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 right? And now it's going to do the same thing. It's just going to start generating a presentation. And so one thing that I want to point out is that at the end of the day, you can reuse these templates. So this one uses the exact same template, the Amazon detailed report, and you can swap out the data. And now, why would you want to swap out the data? It could be different sets of data. It could be ratings and review data. It could be vendor performance data. It could be advertising data, so long as we have access to it. And if you're using Reason Automation, we should have access to that data. We can reuse these templates for different data sets. If you're an agency, a really great use case is to actually reuse these templates for different clients. So instead of manually creating a client-specific deck, you can say, hey, I want one for Yumi Bose. I want one for Korean Bose, or whatever your clients are, so that you don't have to repeat and rinse. You can just kind of select. And great, this one is all done as well. It's just warning me I didn't fill out those bullet points. And you can see that for the most part, this is the exact same template, but this time, this is the vendor report. And the data is going to be a little bit different. Ship COGS, ship units, impressions. The charts are a little bit different here. This is the ship COGS. This looks great to me. I'm going to upload this to Google Slides as well. Now, let's look at what are the final results for the ratings and review report here. This is just the report that I generated just a minute ago. So the reviews and ratings report. And just FYI, all of this information, the average rating, previous rating, this table here, this chart here, this chart, and this table, all of that is coming directly from this Google Sheet / Excel file. It's pulling directly from there. And so what that means is as you update this file, or if you're using Andrew's Excel integration, when you update that Excel file through that linkage, you won't have to do a thing. Basically, you upload that Excel file, you link that Google Sheet. Once the data changes and these charts change, whenever you generate a new presentation, you will get the latest data in there. You just have to do the setup work just once. And from that point on, you'll have the latest presentation with the latest data. And overall, here's the vendor report. Let's look at that really quick. Again, same template, different data. So here are the ship COGS, ship units. Here's a table highlighting some of the details around that. Here's a chart showing some retail conversion rate and so forth. So this is all good. Hopefully you can use this. I have a couple other projects in here. We can combine templates. That's what the QBR is. It just combines the search, vendor, and ratings review report. And yeah, so at the end of the day, I don't want to dive into too much detail about how this mapping is done. But I will emphasize this, it's relatively straightforward, and our team is here to help you figure out how to get the data from Reason Automation and whatever output you have into your presentation template. We're trying to make the software super simple to use, but we want to be here to help you accomplish that. So I guess with that, I'll hand it back over to Andrew. Hey, Andrew, we can't hear you, bud.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you coming by today. We really wanted to make sure that we gave you a mental model and a framework for understanding all the components of your data and reporting process, and that you can use that to help explain the gaps and the bottlenecks with your leadership and your team to actually start creating a strategic plan for optimizing and automating things that you don't want to do anymore. If you have any questions about data automation, my contact info is on the screen. And if you have any questions about presentation automation, James' contact info is on the screen as well as James's co-founder, Allison, who is also on the call today.